and welcome to the North America Gaelic Football Podcast, the home of Gaelic football here in North America. I am your host, Gareth McAlinden, along with Limerick's finest, our co-host, Connor Green. But before we do get started, just a quick shout out to our sponsor, Masita, who has been the official sponsor of the USGA since 2017. For anybody who doesn't know who Masita is, they're one of Ireland's leading manufacturers of sports kits and teamwear. They are a 100% Irish-owned family business who are passionate and dedicated in supplying their customers with quality gear and top-class service. So if your club is interested in learning more about Masita, feel free to give us a shout. We're happy to get you in contact with the right person for your club's needs on the upcoming season. No entrance needed for this lad, huh? So the one and only Daniel, the Irish Yank McKenna. What is the crack with you?
What is the story, lads? Thanks for having me. There is no crack today now. We're keeping her between the ditches, as we'd say. But that was a great intro. You spoke very well there, so nice job.
Appreciate it. Is that the cops on the back? I just heard the sirens.
That's the New York. That is the sound of New York City. So it is. It's beautiful, isn't it? It's like a nice ambient background noise to have, you know.
Love it. Love it. It's like white noise at some point, huh?
It is. Whenever I go home, whether it's Christmas or any time during the year, and you're trying to go to sleep, and it's just dead silence. It's like I'm like, can I get somebody roaring at somebody? Can I get like a siren or a fire truck? Somebody drive by.
Well, it sounds like a UPS truck. It sounds like a UPS truck back and reversing there. So
yeah, absolutely. I'm so used to it now. That's like I can fall asleep to that, no problem. So nearly the silence is harder.
Well, for anybody who's been maybe living under a bush for the last, 4 or 5 years, let's give a little introduction to who Daniel McKenna is. Walk us through a little bit of your journey, through football, through life, where you came from, and we'll start with there.
I suppose, how long have we got? I'm only joking. Daniel McKenna, obviously, is my name, but most people know me as Yankee, or the Irish Yank over here. I'm in New York City. I'm just entered my 7th year here, which is wild to think about because I said I was only going to come over here for a year, and 7 years later we're still here. But it's going well. I used to be an electrician, so I was, and then I transitioned to fitness 2018 into 2019. So about 4 or 5 years now into the fitness journey, and it's going very well. Wouldn't change it for the world. I'm from County Monaghan, Gaelic Trua, as we'd say, most northern club in Monaghan, and we're very proud of that. We're on the border with Tyrone, so we'd play plenty of challenge matches with the Northerners up there, like yourself. We wouldn't have played too many Limerick teams, Connor. So
you're better off, I'd say.
I know, right? But so played football all growing up. I couldn't really miss because my mum was a PE teacher, so I played every sport possible, and nearly played. I think I played 4 sports in 1 week when I was 16, and she was like, "You kind of have to pick one." So we kind of went with Gaelic football for the main one. So played away, and that's where I suppose met you. I played in Boston back in 2012, which is a while ago now. So.
And you played a bit with you played a bit for the county, Daniel, did you?
Yes, yeah, I did. I was very lucky. I played with a lot of good players there growing up, and had a few years, 3 or 4 years with county minors, 3 or 4 years on the 21s, and then I had 3 or 4 years with the seniors, county seniors, before I came stateside as well. So yeah, I played most all those levels and that. So yeah. I suppose just to answer your question about the last couple of years, transitioned to fitness, as I said, personal trainer here in Manhattan in New York City, taught classes as well. Obviously, when the beautiful pandemic happened a couple of years ago, everybody went virtual trainer within 24 hours. So I was doing online, ended up taking it outside, teaching kettlebell classes out in the park here beside my house, beside my apartment. And then got picked up by a big company there for 2 years there, and worked with them for a while, and then left them last year, and now I'm back out on my own, and it's going well. We're working hard, keeping the head down.
You're doing a good bit of touring around, Yankee, are you?
Trying my best. So this year I kicked off, I'm calling them the Strength Summits. So that's what they're called, where I have about between 20 and 30 people come to for a 2-day event, 2-day Strength Summit, 2-day workshop kind of thing. We started with New York City here in February. I'm proud to say that we have 7 cities, starting with seven more cities over this year. In 2023, we have Philly, Boston, North Carolina, Chicago, and then we even have 2 in Canada, in Vancouver and Toronto. So I'm very, very excited. The intro, you said the Irish Yank, and that is where most people know me as. I suppose once you have that on your Instagram name, that's where most people go call you by. But I'm lucky enough to have that bit of a following now in this community that I'm trying to build is Irish Yanks, who are people who actually are Irish like myself, or American born with Irish parents, or have some sort of connection with Ireland, which I'm sure you know from living over here that everybody's Irish, or everybody has some part of Irish in them. So
everybody loves St. Paddy's Day.
Everybody loves St. Paddy's Day. It just passed us there last week, and
everybody
in the world. Oh no, double D's, no T's and that now. Come on now.
Funny, I actually sent out I blasted, so I work in retail banking, and everybody was sharing their St. Paddy's decoration, and I had to send now we have 1,500 employees. I had to send out to everybody, and it's like, now listen, the next person to put PATTY is getting a phone call right off, and I might actually come and drive.
No, it has to be said every year.
Every year, same conversation. Remember, lads, PADDY.
I can't stress this enough.
Yeah. Exactly. I do have to tell them every year. I made a funny video the week before Paddy's Day, just saying, this is Paddy's Day, St. Paddy's Day. It obviously went very well, but then I have 1 or 2 very funny, sarcastic American friends who text me just saying, "Oh, it's Happy St. Paddy's Day," just to wind me up, So, but no, it's a great community over here. The Irish who like us living over here, but the community of Irish Americans over here is definitely it's grown by the day, and great community to have. And I'm just trying to as best I can through the fitness scene and through the fitness world, bring the community together and make it as big as possible and help as many people as I possibly can now with this platform that I have. So that is one of the main goals for myself. Yeah.
Well, let's touch base. We'll touch base on a little bit more in the classes a little later in the episode. But when you're working with these lads and girls as well, when they say, oh, what do you do at the weekend? Oh, I play a bit of Gaelic football. How does that conversation? Because a lot of these people has probably never heard of Gaelic football before. So one of our staple questions on this show is, if you are bumping into an American in the street and you're trying to explain Gaelic football, how do you even start?
It is that is a great question, and it is one that we do get a lot. The way I answer it is, if they're like, "What's Gaelic football?" I'm like, it's a mix between soccer and rugby. And then you can sprinkle in a bit of murder ball there as well, because it can get very intense. But that's usually the way I would explain it, in the shortest possible answer to that.
I love it. So obviously you've been around the block with Gaelic football. A lot of years playing with Monaghan. Back in 2012 when I met you here in Boston. Now, what would you say would probably be your biggest achievement in Gaelic football? And that could be both. That could be here in Ireland, or that could be here as well.
That's a great question. Let me see. I've been very, very lucky that I've played on a number of very good teams with a number of very good footballers throughout, from minor, under 21. I've played in a few different colleges because I was an electrician, as I mentioned before, and when I was doing the apprenticeship, I played with both Sligo under Martin McHugh, with all the McHugh brothers, and then I was with Dundalk, who we won our first Trench Cup with under Oisin McConville. Played a lot of good quality footballers there, and boys from all around the country. So I suppose that I do have an answer for you. It's with the club, but one of the highlights that I would say would be winning the Trench Cup with Dundalk IT, getting man of the match in the final, and that was great. And like kind of just helping Dundalk get that trophy was great. Probably the proudest achievement I would say in my career would be winning the Club All Ireland, Intermediate Club All Ireland for my club back in 2014 in Croke Park. That was, like, I still remember the whole thing, and we still talk about it to this day. That was like phenomenal game, phenomenal year the whole way up. And winning in Croke Park from being down by 8 points to winning by 9 points, like, it was just the game was amazing the whole way through. But yeah, winning with yourself, winning with your club is something special, especially when you play with the lads the whole way up. And I'd say the average age of our team that year was like 23, 24 when you average it out, because we had a lot of like 20-year-olds and 21. I literally turned 22 like 6 days before the final. So that was probably the proudest achievement. Yeah, it was winning a Club All Ireland.
I'd say it'd be some session after that.
Well, we drank for a week. It was unbelievable.
No sugarcoating.
No, I'm not going into too much detail now, but like the crack that was had for a week straight was unbelievable. The story, obviously, we have great stories about the day and the football match, but like the stories for the week after were unreal. Some crack.
Those are the most memorable moments. You know,
those
celebration, that feeling of, you know. But you know, and Connor, you could probably relate to it as well at home, and you know, probably a lot of the American lads probably wouldn't get this in the same way, but at home, it's your club is your parish, you know. So when you win a tournament, it's not just for you; it's, you know, it's for the teachers, and the whole town come together as a community, and it's almost like the place goes into lockdown, you know. And it's just
there was ones had a higher security to drive around the parish that day, because the entire like bus loads of the parish were up in Croke Park, like, so security had to like drive around the roads and make sure, because like literally nobody's home. So
it's almost like when Shane Laurie won the British Open and they locked down Offaly for about three days.
That's right.
So our very own Jimmy Egan, if he's listening, he'll be he's a good Offaly man. He would know more about that. Probably one of the towns there where it was probably one pub, couple of shops, and the place was just packed. So but yeah, it's kind of unique when you do win something like that with your club. It's such a, you know, it's such a moment, not just for the players, but it's the families, it's the friends, it's the parish as a whole. So you know, I'm sure, again, winning it, fantastic, but for everybody that week after, I'm sure it was a phenomenal achievement, experience for everybody.
Great time was had by all, I will say that. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So you obviously played in Boston for a while. Now you're playing in New York. What are the main differences now for someone who doesn't know between New York and the USGA?
I would say also I do have to mention I played with the Wolf Tones in Chicago in 2016 before I came to New York. So I've been to the three cities. Boston in 2012 with the McKenna. That was one of the best summers I've ever had. That was unbelievable. And then I was in Chicago in 2016, played with the Wolf Tones, another unbelievable summer. And again, I'd only went out for 6 weeks, ended up staying for 6 months. So I was loving it. I didn't want to go home. Just didn't want to go home. It was unbelievable. And then I went home for Christmas, and instead of coming back to Chicago, I came to New York, and I'm here ever since. So I think I have a good enough experience with three cities and that. But if I was to name differences between those three, well, the biggest one is obviously New York has an AstroTurf field compared to grass field in both Boston and Chicago. Boston 13 aside, Jared, am I right saying that? Whereas New York has 15. I think it's pretty similar on like the amount of teams that are in the league and the championship and the way it works. Obviously, New York is its own club or own competition with, you know, the Irish team coming out from Ireland for the start of the championship, whereas Boston, Chicago go to the North American and stuff like that. But those would be the biggest differences, I would say.
How do you find 13-a-side versus 15-a-side now?
Well, personally, I loved it because I was an inside forward, and the amount of room that you had in front of you, that's very much how we won the All-Ireland that time with the club, was just kick the ball in. We had 2 men inside, just kick the ball in anywhere, just put it on the outside, away we go. So I didn't mind it. I loved it. And obviously the good weather, solid or dry field, plenty of room. So I personally loved it. I didn't mind it at all. Might be a wee bit more different now, but
you might have seen there was an article on the internet there. Crossmaglen were actually vouching for 13-a-side football, that it could save the attacking principles. There's definitely something to it. Like, it's much harder to be that defensive when you can't totally clog it up, like, isn't it? There is
absolutely
that bit more
like
space.
those. Yeah. No, I'm not against it. I will say, like, we played Donegal plenty of time, and there's there's teams across country that completely took on that role, and the corner forwards spent more time in the half back line, and the half backs were scoring more than the forwards. So it did kind of do a bit of reversal. I'm not against it. We could try the 13-a-side as well. Yeah, absolutely. I'm not against it, and I feel like Crossmaglen is a team and a club that have so much reputation, and people, when they talk, they kind of listen. So I think a
cornerback may disagree with this philosophy.
Oh, absolutely. Hey, they had it handy there for a couple of years. Let's give a bit more advantage back to that out corner forward. Let's get the art of Peter Canavan and Colin Cooper and them boys. Like, it's you don't see it as much now. It's the game obviously has changed and evolved slightly over the last couple of years. So, it could be good or it could be bad. But only one way to find out.
I love the 13-a-side. And you actually brought up a good point there, where you've got the half backs are more in play as well. You're starting to see now kind of Armagh with their goalkeeper, out flying around there, and cornerbacks up in the full forward line, and you are starting to see that adoption of more attacking football, which is great to see. For years, a couple of years there, it got very defensive, which really, in my opinion, hurt the game. That blanket defense. But now you're starting to see that real attacking, which I think it only helps the game as far as as a spectator.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. And I suppose the even just a point on the goalies, like, you've seen the difference in the evolve of the goalkeeper, where you have the likes of Rory Beggan there in Monaghan and Niall Morgan in Tyrone, like, spend more time nearly out the field than in the goals, but their kick is so good, where, like, I've literally seen Rory Beggan kick it to the far 65. Like, the man is one of the best kickouts I've ever seen. And Niall Morgan as well. Like, I played against him in the McGrory back when we were in school. And like, he scored a 45 from the 45 on the sideline. If that makes sense. Like, just stood up, just pop, and then just jogged back upfield. We were just looking like,
there was a clip there this year for Fermanagh scored straight off they scored a point straight from the kick out. The goalie booted it out to about the 45. Your man full forward went up, caught it, took a mark, booted over the bar.
That was in our TikTok. I think it got like 80,000 views or something.
It got more.
100,000
views. But there's a prime example, and that's the addition of the mark. Like, if you have a big forward and pluck the ball, like, and Rory Beggan can kick the ball half the field, that should be a legitimate plan. Whether it's a plan A, B, or C, the fact that you have it in the bank there is a great thing. So,
would you say you like the mark rule?
I don't mind it. Yeah, I think it is good where you're inviting the kick in, where if you have a good pass of the ball and a good forward inside, you're inviting scores. He does so much less work. You just have to obviously make the kick, make sure it's good. But if your man's catching inside the D there, that's scores all day. So
I love the mark of the when in between the four midfielders and somebody goes up and lifts that ball, like, it's just a fantastic skill.
Yeah.
Inside though, I feel like it slows down the game. where it takes away that, there is an element of skill inside forward where you get the ball and you've got maybe one or two cornerbacks on you and you still have to put that ball over the bar. I think, it almost slows down that element of the game where, again, I'll love the idea of up and fielding the ball to midfielders and catching that ball. What a skill. But in the inside, I can see the argument where if somebody was take it out from the inside of the 45, Yankee, you might agree. You're just smiling there because it's he is the inside forward. He wants the easy score.
I was like, you're talking with two men on you and you're having to roast them and kick it over the bar from the 45 again, the wind with long grass and in the rain. We had to do that in my lifetime. So that's well used to it, and that's I agree with you. I do agree that it might slow it down a bit, but.
With the attacking mark, it's like when it's used the way it's supposed to, kind of, it looks great. But then you see every now and again there, what's the rule? It has to the ball has to travel 20 meters, but it can be diagonal. You see every now and again they'll drill a pass. It might only barely make 20 meters, but they're giving it to them, and
I do think
it just looks a bit harmless sometimes, doesn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, there is it's kind of like a grey area. Was that 20 meters? Was it not? Was it, it is. Yeah, but it's a good enough addition and it can be used in the right way. But we'll see as the year goes on, I suppose.
Yeah, that's the thing about GA players, isn't it? Any little rule there, they'll exploit it to the absolute max, won't they? I suppose it's the same in all sports, really. But just to get back on New York versus USGA, a big talking point in USGA is American-born players. You might have seen they're entering a new American-born team for the Junior All-Ireland for 2024. They're going to have a trial in Chicago this year, and they're bringing in more and more new rules where you have to have a certain number of American-born players on the field. Is there any rules like that in New York?
Yeah, I think I suppose just on the American home or American born. Whenever I was in Boston 2012. Gary, you didn't agree with me. There wasn't that many players, even let's say with an American accent, when you go up to them and they're calling out the players' names or telling you what to do on the field with an American accent. There's a lot more of the American-born players playing now in today's game, even over the last 4 or 5 years of me playing here in New York, and the likes of Tiernan Mahers and that coming up now, who. There are very good players playing Gaelic football who are American born with Irish parents, and it definitely has been an influx, and it's that's as good a reason as any to get that team into the junior championship. There is plenty of players that are coming up now, and they're coming up that age now. I suppose before there might have been only a couple of players around the 18 to 20-year-old. Now you're getting a solid amount of players who are 25 years of age and have been playing it for 10 years at least, so if not more. So there's definitely a massive influx this last couple of years of American-born players playing Gaelic football.
Yeah, and how is the women's football, the ladies' football scene in New York? Is there a bit of growth in that too?
Massive. So I had a good conversation with Amy Brett there. Shout out to Amy Brett. She is mastermind of one of the masterminds behind most of the ladies Gaelic football here in New York City. Works like a Trojan, so she does. But to quote her, they have there's over 1,000 ladies registered. There's so many ladies footballers that are playing here in New York, and that on the O'Donovan Ross's team, they have nearly 60 players on their team alone. So they have two teams playing in the league. So the ladies football is definitely booming here in New York, and I think it is the same for most of the cities. Even just fitness in general, the ladies really do they work hard and look after themselves, and no difference with the Gaelic footballers here. And they're serious crack too. They love the Gaelic football just as much for the crack, never mind actually playing it. But there is a massive influx of ladies playing here in the city, and it's great to see. It's great to see.
Yeah, we've got three 3 or 4 new teams there in the Northeast this year. When there was only maybe 3 or 4 to begin with. So it's great to see. It's great to see a bit of growth there.
5 or 6 for senior and intermediate here, or senior and junior. I think that they play together in the league, and then they split for the championship. But it's definitely on the rise, and it's great to see.
Yeah. I mean, the more teams, the better, and I think we had a conversation with Bernie Connaughton. He was saying it seems like the ladies pick it up a little quicker than the men, so, and it's a lot, I know camogie, you obviously have that element of skill with almost like field hockey, but football is almost like an easier sport to pick up. And it's getting back to that. It's that community aspect, right? So one of the boys we talked to not long ago. It's 25% football, 75% crack. And that's really what it is.
That's a pretty much good statistic.
Yeah, that's really what it is. And it's not just for the lads. Like, the girls love it too. And if you've got a young couple who are both athletic, and it's like, well, there's somebody there. There's something there for both of us to do. And you're two people, a couple going in there to a community, and it's like your extended family. There's nothing like the Gaelic football community in my. Probably the closest thing that comes with it is the rugby community, which I know they do all like the away games and stuff. But Gaelic football is, it's a hell of a. The GAA as a whole is a phenomenal community to be a part of.
And on the crack part of it, like, I guarantee you, if you asked, especially in New York, you asked who goes harder, nearly all the fellas would say that the girls go, like, they are bananas once they get going. Like, so they do train hard. I will say that they play hard, but like, they do love a good session after it, and they are bananas. So, and if anybody disagrees with me, you're lying. They're all mental.
Well, I mean, even look at the J1ers that come out for the summer. The girls that come out are just absolute. I used to work in the bar, and the girls used to come out and be brilliant crack. So
they are.
I can definitely see how the girls definitely go hard, and I know that's something we're talking about. Myself and Connor, we're part of now. Myself and him started the football team with the Worcester Fenians, and that's something we're going to be looking into in the near future for maybe getting the ladies team involved, because something for everybody. Right now we have the New England Fenians, the camogie team, who is not Worcester, but they're like the New England region. But I think a ladies football team would definitely add to the culture of the club, and
absolutely.
Getting more people, and I'm sorry, if you do co-ed sessions, you're going to see a lot more lads going down to them training.
Oh, absolutely.
The effort will be going through the roof there. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I might start running laps around people myself.
I know, the influx of people would be packed house.
What was that, 6 laps? No, 2. Six. 6. So I guess a good time to kind of move on to how you kind of balance this. So, I mean, you guys are training a couple nights a week. So how do you balance that with your current position right now as a trainer?
Yeah, it's tough enough. Like, it is a very demanding sport over here. I will say, obviously, playing on the AstroTurf compared to the grass, it's a bit more unforgiving. It does take a toll on the body overall. But I suppose for myself, I'm a personal trainer here in the city. Absolutely love my job, love what I do. I'm very lucky to be in the position I'm in. So I'm trying my best to look after my body, whether it's getting it obviously in the gym pretty much every day, getting the recovery work done or rehab work done, or getting the work in that can help me then train the next night or the day after. And we train maybe three times a week, whether it's Tuesday, Thursdays, and then a day on the weekend. So obviously it's a big game. It's the main time of the season. So everyone kind of, is tailored around the training and the football matches. So that's the main focus at the minute. But it's I've worked both construction and personal training jobs while playing football, and I would prefer where I am now, being fit to get in the gym and recover instead of having to get up at 6 o'clock in the morning, go into a building site carrying a bag of tools. I definitely would prefer this career compared to the last career. So that's definitely a plus. But it's definitely the playing the Gaelic over here is it takes a lot out of you, but obviously when we win on April 8th, it'll be well rewarded.
So just on as far as training and Gaelic football, walk us through, if you can, a little, typical week. What a typical week looks like for you, as far as what are you training? Is there certain parts of the body? Is there certain, weights versus aerobic? And, before games as well, how does that typical week look like?
Typical week for me, I have a couple of clients who I train two, three times a week in the middle of the day. So I have a lot of meetings and stuff and emails and stuff in the morning. Obviously, I have to look after the dog. He's my alarm clock, gets me up every day at 7 o'clock, nearly on the button, if not before it. So, taking him out, working on my my brand, my companies and stuff in the morning with emails, and getting Evan ready for my upcoming strength summits. Then into the gym, and I'd mostly train my clients and then take the time after to get my own gym work in, whether if it's, a bit of rehab or prehab, or getting a bit of legs work done, helping out the groins, the hamstrings and the glutes. And if it's the day after training, it'll be just trying to loosen up and get the blood flowing again. If it's getting the day before training, it's just that bit of prep work. Not too massively heavy at the minute. Obviously we're coming close to the game, so not massively heavy, but more like maybe higher intensity stuff and getting the body moving when I can. Then training 2-3 times a week, and trying to get recovery into. There's if I can get in the plunge pool or the sauna as well, is a great help. And then just trying to, I do think, as I'm getting a bit older now, I think the biggest thing, and this is what I would tell most of my clients, is sleep. My main priority that I try to focus on and try my best to get better at is sleep, and the quality of sleep, and the food that I'm eating and drinking. So that's kind of my main goal. But the week is especially now with 2-3 weeks away from the game, it kind of revolves around getting into the gym and preparing for the training session that's coming.
Yeah. Connor has the athlete down. 5 pints
right?
of Guinness a night, the old Peter Canavan way, straight into the plunge pool.
Yeah, I actually went into it there. I went into it there recently. Sure, I had drank a heap of Guinnesses there. It was nice. It was nice actually. I barely felt the cold. I'd say I went in there longer than I ever would.
Next day, all you need now is to have a pint of Guinness while you're in there, and you're laughing. Stay in there. You're getting recovery while you're drinking them.
That's the goal. Control my breathing. Control my breathing to the point that I can have a relaxing pint of Guinness in the ice bath.
That's right.
That's the goal.
And then goes out the next day and kicks 6 points.
At least 1-6.
Yeah. The old Peter Canavan philosophy. Absolutely. 6 pints of Guinness the night before a game, go out and score 6 points. So
I used to work for Jack McCarville. I was a barman at home for 5 years, and Jack, he's one of the most prestigious players that put on a Monaghan jersey. He has Ulster championships and won loads of stuff with Scotchtown, and Jack's hard as nails, and he was known to be hard as nails in the field. He'd tell you, pint of Guinness not do you no harm. So I'm not disagreeing with you, Connor. Hard to beat a good pint of Guinness.
We're not encouraging it.
Yeah, drink responsibly.
No drink before a championship game, lads.
No drink. If you're only drinking, we have a few.
As a trainer now, what's your thoughts on Gaelic football and the gym? You know the way you hear some older fellas talk about, don't let it slow you down and all this. Do you think it's something that's essential for a young player coming up to get in the gym, start lifting weights?
I do. It's and try not to go overcomplicate it, but it is kind of it comes down to what's the goal, like what specifically, as specific as we can, like what is the goal. You know, if it's a team wide thing and you're like, right, well, if you're underage players, like, you know, you're obviously not going to have them doing loads and loads and loads of weights, but you need to build a foundation that they can over a couple of years into minor, under 21, up into senior, that they have been putting in the work kind of thing. I do think that you know, in the off season or pre-season or whatever, that time can be taken to, you know, if there's players who are a wee bit on the lighter side, all right, you need to start eating more. You know, you need to get in there and get the reps in, get the sets in. Whereas if it's somebody who maybe is more on the heavier side, needs to lose more weight, that's a slightly different program than you would give the boy who's trying to gain weight, obviously. But I think that the foundational movements, whether it's pull-ups and push-ups and even core strength, that can forever be worked on. I remember when I was younger, I had a pull-up bar in the house, and you'd be every day push-ups, pull-ups, and sit-ups. Now I was lucky again. I had a great people over me and coaches over me, whether it was with my underage in club, I had with Jordanstown when I was in college, and then Dundalk the whole way up through the county minors on 21. Like we had a great people around me, and I was very lucky at that age group. So they were always pushing you on to do better and do more. So and I would have been very driven, obviously, with mum as a PE teacher, to be in the gym myself and trying to lead the team. And I was lucky enough to be captain of a couple of teams when I was growing up and stuff like that. So I do think I think it is important, and it definitely even builds a bit of camaraderie to the team as well, knowing that they're pushing each other on in the gym as well as outside the gym, and it transfers in onto the field as well. But I do think there's maybe more different times of the year, pre-season, you know yourself, January, February, you don't want to be outside slogging up and down the field. So those would be the times to be putting the work in the gym. And then when you get out to the field, that's when you start the running and getting the cardio stuff on. And definitely coming in the summer and the better days, you know, as simple as, what is it? If you want to get better at playing football, you got to play football. So getting out, getting the balls, kicking frees, kicking kickouts, you know, getting the runs in. So definitely I think to answer your question, it caters to a different type of person. What's the goal? Different time of year, different age groups, you know. But yeah, I think especially now, and the final point I'll make on this, my good friend Brian McQuaid, he lives in Vancouver now. He sent me a picture of McGrory. It was the referee with two players on the side of him. It was pre-game, you know, just photo, whatever. And this is the McGrory age last year. And the two players were absolute animals, ripped to bits, just monsters. And we're looking at that photo like that's not what we looked like when we were that age, like, you know, 17, 18, like these boys are just brick shit houses. And we're like, that's, you know, the difference even now compared to when we were growing up. I do think there's even a lot more people in the gym and putting in that work. And I suppose maybe social media might have a bit more of an impact with that part of it too. But I do think it's important, and I suppose that's where I'm looking to come in and help as many people as I can in the communities and the aspect and the following that I have now. So I do think it's important, Connor. Yeah. And
do you have any plans to? Do you know, are New York doing the same kind of a setup as last year, where they went out and played Talton Cup? Would you have any plans on joining them to a trip to Ireland potentially? Or
you're the first person to ask me that now. Not gonna lie, it has, you know, not against it. You know, obviously have a lot going on with the career and the work and stuff like that. But it's right here. It's a wee trip home, isn't it? Yeah. So we'll have to wait and see. I can't even answer that question because I don't know. But not against it.
So I'd say it's a good time kind of move on to kind of the next segment here. We want to talk about, you know, what's the future hold for you. You know, we can touch a little bit about, you know, the work as well, but as far as Gaelic football going forward, where do you see yourself? You know, do you see yourself playing in the short term and versus like maybe getting into coaching? You know, what's the future in Gaelic football for you?
These are great questions. It is a very, I suppose, multi-sided answer and question. I suppose, like, I'm obviously back playing now. I was out for 2 years there. I had a 2 year sabbatical, you could say, because I'm with my previous employer there. But I'm back now, and I thought my boots were hung up, to be honest, and I thought that was kind of it. And obviously back, never say never, I suppose, is a good way of answering it. But I definitely think I'll be in coaching at some stage or some point. I don't know if it's going to be this year, next year, or 5 years or whatever. I do think, again, growing up with my mum, my mummy, who is a coach and has been coaching from since '96 and is still doing it, and growing up around that, and I suppose now leading these classes in the city and this community, and that, I do think it's kind of in the blood nearly, and you either have it or you don't have it kind of thing too. But I think I'll definitely play another bit, and whether I'm playing and coaching, or if I transition into coaching, I definitely think it's on the cards. And I feel like I have a lot that I can offer and give back to younger players, and I'd like to provide as much guidance as I could and help as many people as I can. So I think, to answer your question, is it's probably yes to both, just depending on where and how it happens. I think, as you guys know from being over here, like, your career and your job is such a big importance, and I take it very seriously, my job over here, and it's a lot on me, and it's what I really want to make of it. So at the minute, like, my career and my work is main thing, so I'm trying to really make as much of that and make it as a best opportunity as I can. So maybe when I get a bit more of a stable foundation and I'm kind of set and I know what I'm doing, then I'll let a lot more time to maybe coaching and take, I don't know if I'd have a full time on my schedule to take over a team completely, but whether it's coming in here and there and taking a couple of sessions when I can, and whether it's on the weekends or giving as much input as I can with the time I have, I think it's definitely possible now.
What do you think, Connor? Should we give him a transfer to the Worcester Fenians?
Yeah, always welcome. Play under Garrett's management.
That drive's not too bad, right?
It's
all right. We'll let you skip training. Just come out for the games.
We won't give you travel expenses, but we might buy you, some mozzarella sticks, maybe a few Guinnesses here and there.
Pints of pay me and pints of start. we'll talk after.
So yeah, do you want to touch base on just a little bit more about the summit? So I know you've got a couple of them coming up. I know Jerry Foley will be excited to see you in your return to Boston down at JJ Foley's. But yeah, do you want to touch base a little bit about that?
I suppose, yeah. It kind of came about very organically, which I'm very happy about, and I can't stress that highly enough that how amazing this community over here is, and we call them the Irish Yanks, and I do take it very seriously, and I am very proud of what I've managed to build and the community that I have follow me, and the people that are a part of it, and how they act and how they talk and how they think. And I suppose, not to get into it too much, but through the fitness classes that I used to teach online and stuff, the teachings and the sayings, and this is how I know how beneficial Gaelic football is, and how amazing growing up in Ireland and having the great coaches when you're younger. The sayings that I learned from Marty Briney was his name. If I had to pick one coach who was the best coach I've ever had, is Martin Briney, and I had him from under 14s to 15s and under 16s. And he had such an impact in my life when I was younger, that the sayings and stuff that he taught me, I would say it in my classes, and that transitioned to this community. And now they're even the mums and parents and dads who are taking my classes and taking what I'm saying, they're teaching their kids that. And the way in which they go about their daily lives and taking the workouts and how they talk to themselves mentally and how they look after themselves, and how they're showing them that they're stronger than they realize, and not quitting early. Like, I remember we were doing a run, it was like on a Saturday morning, and we were doing the shuttle runs, and you 10 of them in and you had another 5 to do, and you're just bollocks. But he was like, I never forget it, he's like, if you quit early once, that's going to become a habit. And from 15 years old, I'll never forget it, and it's still to this day that stands with me. So, and I have people who the part of the Irish Yanks, and that's one of their mottos, where like they don't want to quit early in a workout because that shit becomes a habit and that transitions into your daily life. So all of that to say that organic growing has transitioned now into what I call the strength summits, where I want to in person teach as many people as I can and make it a whole weekend. And so they're 2-day summits. They are a Saturday and a Sunday, which started in New York City, went so well. I wanted to bring it to as many cities as possible. So we have Philadelphia is the first one, which is in the last weekend in April. And then the following week, the first weekend in May, we're coming up to your town. We're coming up to Boston. And then we have North Carolina in June. We have Chicago in July. And then we have Vancouver in August, which I'm very excited about, and Toronto in September. And then the last one, or not the last one, I have one of the bigger ones, and one of the ones I'm still working on is Texas in October. So there's going to be a big push for that one, which I'm very excited about. There's more details to come on that one. I haven't opened the booking for that, but there is. And then I want to hit one more on the West Coast, maybe San Diego, before the year's out. So I suppose what we're trying to do here with this podcast and highlight, Irish across the world and across America here is I'm trying to, I suppose, fly the flag for the Irish in the fitness community and highlight, how good we are as people and our culture and our community and the way we hold ourselves and how we go about our daily lives, and even the stuff you're taught up with common sense and how your parents raised you, like that, it is very important to me. And I'm trying to bring that mentality across to the community that we have grown here now. So it's very, very exciting stuff, and I'm again trying to do my best to build this community and highlight how amazing we are as Irish.
No, you brought up actually a couple of really good points there. Firstly, Texas actually has a huge Gaelic football community now. We actually we were talking with Bernie Connaughton, and he was saying like down there across Texas they have, I think they have 5 or 6 teams are down in the Texas area. Huge.
Everything's bigger in
fantastic,
Texas.
So maybe that's his couple of the Texas teams down there. Maybe he wants a little bit of the Irish Yank. A couple of classes down there, get them signed up.
October, baby.
But you talked about, where your own managers. You're so right. Growing up, some of the biggest life lessons you learn from Gaelic football and the Gaelic football community. And it was, it's nobody was ever getting paid to coach. It was, it was your family members, it was your friends, and they deeply cared about, you and the club and, the things that I have learned throughout my life that I bring to my everyday life, hard work, dedication, being there for your teammates, being there for, for the community, for the club. Those are all things we learn, as a young lad joining a Gaelic football or even a soccer, whatever it was, that community aspect. And, I think you make a good point there. The Irish community as a whole is a phenomenal community to be involved with. Yeah. Hence why we're trying to grow Gaelic football. There's a community there where if you're looking to join a network of people, who are, young professionals, but love to go out and play a bit of ball and go for a couple of drinks after, hey, that's who we're looking for. Those are the people that we want to bring along and build a culture, build a successful group. And that's kind of what we've done.
Most people around a lot of people around the US just are really lacking that community sense, so to be able to provide that for them is great. We started with very little. They had in Worcester, Massachusetts, they had a Gaelic football team back in the 80s there. My father actually played for them. They were called the Fenians back then. But then they came back as a hurling club in, I think it was 2010. So they had a hurling club for about 10, 11 years. And we started up the football after COVID in 2021. Gareth had moved out this way from Boston. And there was really only 3 or 4 of us, but we've grown it an awful lot to the point that, the first year we were touch and go whether we'd even have a team or not. But we've really grown it to the point that we have a fairly big squad of players now. Never really looking for players on match day. We always have a pretty decent squad, and some of them have really picked it up and just absolutely love Gaelic football. GA Go subscriptions, watching every single league game pretty much. So it's great to be able to give people that community aspect that GA Gaelic football brings.
Yeah.
And it's funny, on a Tuesday night we'd be out there and training. It's like, oh, you watched the match there at the weekend? It's like, yeah, a little bit of it. Like we usually watch like the Sunday game. Like we usually watch like the highlights because you'd be out playing ball on the Sunday, like so you wouldn't really watch the live. Like. So like that, but they're so into it, and they'll watch like. For me, like I have to watch the game live. If I'm not watching live, watch.
Yeah. They'll be asking you how Leitrim and Carlow went there in Division 4.
Oh yeah, they'd pass they'd be just, they're all in for it, like, and some of them are brilliant. So I mean, I'd say there's a good, probably, for contention of that county team that goes over and plays in Ireland, there's probably 3 or 4 lads that's on that team that will be, I'd say, would be very considered for that team. Just fitness, ball, like picking it up so quick. So I mean, goes back to the whole thing. Like, some of the Americans are just athletes. Some of them are maybe lacking that, when you grow up, and just that like smarts, that little like game time. Like, but once they get it going, like once they, once it clicks for them, some of them are brilliant.
Yeah. So just about Gaelic football going forward in the US, what would you say are the biggest challenges, and is there anything you would do to improve it?
2 points, I suppose. I think the one difference even now compared to 10 years ago or 15 years ago is there's not as many people coming out and staying. So years ago, boys would have come out in J1 and stayed, and that, they're still here. Obviously, there are a few exceptions, and likes myself and that, there's a few of us who have been born here and have the American passport, so we don't have to worry about visas. But there's still a few boys I know here that can't go home because they came out and they overstayed and they're still here. But I think the difference now with the likes of different jobs where in social media and by people working from home and there's not as many construction jobs and stuff like that. Like boys would have come out here and worked in construction or worked in flooring or roofing or electrician or whatever it is, labouring. I don't think that's happening as much now, and that I think is just one aspect of maybe how it might be hindering the game, or how people are coming out here and playing and staying and stuff. You still get people coming out for the year on different visas and stuff, but I think the wee difference that I would say would be, compared to 10, 15 years ago, there's not as many people coming out and staying and working in their construction jobs and starting their own companies and stuff like that. I do think that the one of the better things maybe that's helping the game is that the younger generation, even my age group, is now on the boards of committees and in charge. So you have like a 30-year-old who is maybe a chairperson or a CEO or on the board making decisions, and it's not no harm, but like the older generation who've been out here for 40 or 50 years or 60, they're in their 60s, that they got the job, they were in charge, and they just haven't let anybody else been in charge, and they're making decisions where everything has been updated and changing. And it's great to see the younger people that are in charge and kind of making these decisions that is helping the younger players that are playing the game. So the likes of Amy Brett there and Sophie Colligan and Bino and Johnny Glynn even there as well, and players, the people like that are younger, and they're in charge now and making maybe better decisions for our age group. So I think that's probably a way in which it's helping the game. And then I suppose the last point is having these American born players making up half the team, and it's helping the game, and the fact that there's more players now, and you're not looking for players, and there's more teams and that you can play against and stuff. So I definitely think maybe in one way it might be hindered by players not coming out, but you have those two other points that I think might be helping the game go forward. And then the likes of what you guys are doing and highlighting it and having this podcast and showing the world and through social media that the highlights of Gaelic football and how amazing it is and the community that it is and how much it's grown all over America, not just Boston, Chicago, New York, and how it is going to Denver and Texas and Delaware and all these cities. So I think it's evolving and I think it's growing, and I don't think it is, you know, as McGregor said, I said this before, we're not here to take part, we're here to take over. So I think it's going in a good direction.
Taking over Mexico City as well.
Oh, everywhere, man. We're everywhere.
Mexico City just started a Gaelic football team.
Love it. I want to go to Mexico actually this summer, so we'll see. I might stop there.
We're already petitioning Cancun tournament in January.
Oh, stop the light. So you see the tournaments in Dubai and Abu Dhabi and Australia. I do think that's one thing America could pick up on is doing a sevens tournament or doing even 11-a-side tournament and making it over a weekend. I think if I was to say something, whoever's listening to this in New York and Boston and Chicago, I know we have the North American competition there, but I think of having a big weekend where it's a seven, like the Kilmacrud Sevens is a great example where, you know, we actually got to the final of it in 2015. Kilmacrud beat us in the final, and we just went up for the crack and we ended up getting to the final of it. But the day's crack that you have is unbelievable. So I think definitely, even if we picked a good weekend, whether it was Memorial Weekend or Labour Weekend or some big weekend here in the city and had a big tournament, I think it would be great for the community and for the building of camaraderie and teams and stuff and making a big weekend out of it. I think that could be a great way of bringing a bit of highlights to it.
I think they have some of those tournaments, but you know, I maybe publicized a little more, you know, a lot more bigger clubs coming in there and having the different competitions. Like Connor's father was just out in Vegas for, what was it called? Knees That Crack tournament.
Knees That Crack tournament, yeah. 64 years of age, he was. 64 years of age, he went out for the over 40s tournament in Vegas, and they won the B final or something. So
not a bother to him. Fair play.
Yeah, few more tournaments like that for the younger generation, I'd say, would be welcome.
Absolutely, like just the crack is unreal. So I think it's
even like Nashville, you know, like cities like that where you could say like, you know, that has a draw, you know, but make it so much where it's like a weekend away. Like, you know how like sometimes some of the tournaments can be so serious, like where like obviously when you go to nationals it's serious, right?
Yeah.
But if you go to a tournament there in Nashville that's like a 2-day tournament, but you know what? Saturday, it's during the day and you get out at 6 and you go in and you have the crack and go to all the country bars. Like, you know, that's the weekends the lads are going to remember and the girls are going to remember.
Both of them. That's what you want. You have the women's team and the men's team going down and yeah, what is it? You lose your beer, you win your beer. It doesn't matter. So it's
25% ball, 75% crack.
There you go.
In the national final last year, there we played Charlotte, a club in Charlotte there, and they have a pretty strong women's setup too. I think they might have men's and women's hurling and football. But yeah, Jesus, the women on the sideline were absolutely heckling the shit out of us, like it was like playing a Premier League game or something, you know. So,
actually, there was a couple of gestures. There was a couple of gestures at the crowd, like, you know, there was the first like 15 minutes was a little back and forth, and you know, I think there was 1 point go over as the old hand of the air, but it was brilliant crowd, and we were actually all staying in the same hotel together, but they had a serious support with them, like, you know, and that's kind of the clubs you want to emulate, right? Those are the ones you thrive to be, and fair play to them. They were a great. What was the name of their club again? Was it?
I think it's the Charlotte GA, right?
Was it James Connolly's?
I
think it could have been James Connolly's.
Fair
maybe
play to them anyway.
Yeah, but they were brilliant and a great community. And you know what? When we lost in the final, but you know what? Respect to them. You know, after the game, we all went off and was like, you know what? It was great staying with you all weekend, and even on the bus on the way back, like even the crack we were having with them. So, and that's, you know, sometimes losing shape, but when you lose to a team like that, that's doing it the right way, and you can see the progression, you can see the camaraderie. You know, once it wears off, you kind of like, you know what, fair play. You know, he's deserved it.
Yeah. So yeah, before we wrap up, I just want to say special thanks to Yankee there for coming on, and best of luck with the game coming up Saturday, 8th of April, New York versus Leitrim. Just want to say a big thanks to everyone who's listening out there. If you like this, please like, subscribe, follow, whatever you can do. Leave a comment. We greatly appreciate it. So thanks, and we'll talk to you
Thanks
next
for having
time.
me, lads. Appreciate it, and best of luck with all your endeavours. Thank you.